Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome. Tonight, you join us at the notorious Bathurst circuit, and we're here streaming live from InGear Media. I'm joined once again by Charlotte Burridge.
Hey, I'm back.
Okay, the wife's also joined us, bringing in some expert racing knowledge. We're looking forward to tonight. This is a really exciting track. The drivers have been out practicing. They actually ran a bit of a practice race last night, and we're just starting qualifying. So welcome once again to this InGear Motorsport stream tonight, and we've got two live races coming up for you. Qualifying is just started. That's 15 minutes. But before we do head into qualifying, we find out a bit more about the drivers on the track. Let's take a quick look at the timings coming up tonight. Okay, so as you can see, it's official practice just finished, which has taken us into qualifying one. And Charlotte will run you through what's coming up for the rest of this evening.
So race one's going to start at 7:50 p.m. That's a 30-minute race, same format, exactly the same format as what we did last week. Then we're going to go into another official practice. We like to give the drivers an official practice in between both races, just in case they need any setup changes. You probably remember again from last week and previous weeks as well, but the guys are actually starting to work on a bit of a team-up basis. We've actually pulled Mackenzie away this time compared to he was running with Chrissy Palmer last week. But they do compare setups, change tyre pressures, have a little bit of a conflab after the races to see what's happened. And then qualifying is going to be at 8:35 p.m. And then race two is going to start to 8:55. And that's going to take us through to about 9:30. Once we've finished up and had a chat with the drivers in between. We'll see how we're going with things and try and get some drivers there to have a bit of a chat in between, I think, this week as well, if they're not too busy.
Yeah, we'll try and get them chatting. Chrissy's usually quite good for a chat. He's the orange AMG that's on screen at the moment in the corner there. And while we do start chatting, we can head on in and have a look at qualifying full screen and see what's going on. There's just under 12 minutes left to go for the drivers, and they have a 50-minute quali, as we just established. So that's now well underway. We've got, at the moment, it looks like 9 drivers. We had a bit of a technical glitch just before we started, hence the few minute delay where we had to restart our game server. But that should now start filling back up a little bit nicer. And if you haven't heard or seen of the Bathurst circuit before, it is a notorious circuit, one of the greats, as most racing drivers would probably agree. Partly because it's through the eye of a mountain, passed through an old tourist road that was formed through there many years ago in the early 1900s, like 1800s, and eventually formed its way up to become a racetrack that runs through the mountain. They used to run bike racing here as well, but that's been too dangerous. But they're still allowed to get car racing through. At some fantastic events like the Bathurst 12-hour, the Bathurst 1000, which has actually ran over a few days period, and the fastest car you could possibly have, or the fastest cars that have ever been around this track, are the GT3 cars. Even a Formula 3 car with all of its downforce isn't able to outmatch the time that the GT3 car can go around here. So it makes for some pretty damn scary moments. So I'm trying to cast my mind back to if I've ever done any street circuits, but I think maybe back in the karting days. What about you, Charlotte? Have you ever done anything on a street circuit before? Part of this is actually a public road during the week normally.
No, I'm just trying to think back as well. I guess the closest that I've got to in terms of street circuit is Nürburgring, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. I've been fortunate enough that I started really my car racing career there. It's a very unique track, though, this, because it is track and road circuit technically, isn't it? So most of the year this is actually shut off, so pre-testing like you could just go to Spa or Monza. It's limited what we've got here, so it's a really special place. It's almost the Nürburgring of the other side as well, I would say.
Yeah, and the Aussies are big motorsport fans.
Yeah.
So this is the mecca of Australian racing. Yeah, they love the big supercar Aussie V8s, as they're known. But we've got GT3 cars here this weekend, and that is another big part of it. As we're watching Neil Kidd carve his way through part of the mountain section there, turns 11 through to 17, and you drop through Skyline there, just going through. You've actually got the campsites either side of this that the corners are named after. So McPhillamy Park is one of them, Silver Park is another. And that's where the hardcore fans camp out days before the race leading up to it to get the prime viewing seats. So he's just gone through that section
I
now.
would do that if you not really my life.
Especially in the sort of peak they have there. One of the other unique things about this circuit, I mean, maybe you wouldn't think so in Australia because all of Australia's hot, but it is very hot usually at Bathurst. And that comes to the fact that it's got a very high elevation level. It's 862 metres above sea level. So that kind of gives it its own climate. In fact, they call it a subtropical highland climate. But really, in English, that just means it can reach temperatures of over 40 degrees C.
Very hot. And I think if the outside temperatures are at 40 degrees, then imagine what the in-car temperatures actually get to. I think it's something that's not taken into consideration a lot. I hear so many times when we were both racing, why do you need to be fit to be in a race car? People don't appreciate how hot it is in there and how physical that makes it. Drivers lose kilos on the weekends. I mean, it's a fab diet if you've got a holiday or something like that coming up, but it is something that really has to be taken seriously. And drivers that are actually racing on this circuit at the weekend, they'll be looking at their hydration, you know, a good couple of weeks before that to make sure that they're in the best possible condition to be able to get out on the track.
It's a really key part of it, and actually, you know, motorsport drivers, particularly at this sort of level, in Formula One and things like that, also, they are athletes. You know, they're when they do performance tests, they are like triathlete level fitnesses, and you really need it at places like this. Now, of course, in the game here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, which we play, and the guys are in right now. This is what you're watching is inside the game. It's not obviously quite the same temperature. Oh, and we just caught D Storman there having a bit of a moment.
That's very unusual to see that as well. I haven't actually seen him in certainly qualify, maybe in pre-practice when there's a bit more free rein to be, you know, having these incidents. But we certainly haven't seen him really put too many, not a foot wrong, certainly in the races that I've been following over the last few weeks. So he's pushing quite hard. Now, do you think that's because he's under a little bit more pressure at the moment? We've got Chrissy Palmer who's in there, who's doing extremely well in the AMG GT.
Yeah, Chrissy definitely is putting some laps in that are pretty impressive. I mean, already he's on a 2:02.4. Anything sort of under the 2:02.5 bracket's fast. The fastest times you see is sort of just getting into the 1:01s around this circuit. I should just stop before we go any further to take note of the fact that I'm being razzed in the chat already. Paulina says, Mackenzie, are you scared of this track? I think a little bit. I've always struggled to hook up a good enough lap time around here. I can kind of be towards the front end of it, but I've always lacked that last bit to be sort of top 3, top 5 pace in our races around here. So yes, Paulina, thanks for calling me out on that. Paulina will be cheering on Danny Price, who's one of the 2 Shiba Garage cars that are out competing tonight. So the Aston Martin Racing Shiba Garage cars, you've got 2 of them, Danny Price and Neil Kidd. At the moment, Neil's in 4th place, just under 2 seconds off Chrissy's time, so it just gives credit and merit to Chrissy's lap time so far. And then you've got Danny, I think I saw somewhere around 4th, 5th on the grid. We see what you see on your screen. So timing board in this game leaves a little bit to be desired sometimes, but yeah, they're both inside the top 10, that's for sure. Our other regular contenders, Danny's in 7th, where we can see now. Our regular contenders, we've got A. Clemson and N. Steves, the fellas racing cars in the Nissan Nismo GT3 racing car. So that's on your screen now. That's Gnarl Steves going through your screen. Now they've had a bit of an upgrade to their livery, although they have got something a little bit special coming for a race at Suzuka at some point. They're big fans of Suzuka. Of course, it's a Nissan as well, Japanese car. So that's what the red circle on the roof is for, paying homage to its Japanese roots. You can see they're running around on the track at the moment. Now this track has 2 incredibly long straights. So the Conrod straight is 1.9 kilometres long, and the straight that these 2 guys are on at the moment, as Steve just lets Clemson go past, is just over 1 kilometre long. The track in all is 6.2 kilometres, so it's a long track, but almost half of it is just straight. And the reason I bring that up is these 2 guys were running around following each other at the point we joined them on screen. And that can certainly help a little bit, can't it, Charlotte? If you have a bit of a slipstream to another car, you know, what can that be worth? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's worth 5 to 10. And again, for people that don't necessarily follow motorsport, a tenth is absolutely a colossal amount of time. It'll be interesting to see, though, with that, who's going to go first, because it's always the person behind that actually gets the benefit of being in that slipstream. So are they going to work together, or are they going to let someone set a lap, swap over. That's how teamwork works. It'll be interesting to see for what level of the team they're actually working together for. And again, it'll be interesting to see how the other guys are working. It's quite a reassuring thing to have a teammate out there as well, because it is someone that you can lean on, regardless whether you're, this is real life racing or esports that we're doing here. It's good to have someone to compare notes to, compare the setups, what are you doing here, etc., etc. So it's definitely a benefit I think these teams have got now.
Yeah, and I found racing last week. If you watch, by the way, we do this every week. So normally every Tuesday, although we've got a special event coming up next week, I'll tell you more about soon. But I was racing last week at Zolder, and Chrissy joined for the first time, who's the other InGear Motorsport car, which of course is just him this week, so I'm doing the commentary. But we were swapping and sharing setups a little bit, which really helped. And I found half a second just by switching to his setup around Zolder, which is not quite as long as the lap is this either. So, sure, the lap, the bigger impact of half a second was making the lap time. So it does help just having someone to bounce ideas off and work out fuel loads and those sorts of things. That will play into their hands more so next week as well, when we do our special charity race, which is 90 minutes. So they'll be talking a lot about that. So far, we've seen a bit of a moment here and there, but for the most part, everyone's kept it nice and clean in qualifying, and I'm sure they'll be pushing nice and hard to set a fast lap time. Clemson in 4th, Kidd in 5th, so 2 of our regular InGear Motorsport guys there. Then we've got a couple of members of the public, because this is a live public server, so anyone that wants to join can join it. So it's under Fellas InGear Motorsport on the Assetto Corsa Competizione game. That is on PC, which we keep getting asked now that it's been released on console. Sadly, you can't set up your own servers on console yet, but we run on PC, then we have full control of what we want with the settings, which mostly means Danny P likes to make it rain when it shouldn't rain. I have done a wet race here at Bathurst, even though it's meant to be 40-degree heat, which does happen. They actually had some rain, I think it might have even been this year, they had some horrendous rain during practice. And in the real world this year, it's just prompted my memory. Did you know that there were some kangaroos that made their way onto the track? This is Australia.
Now that's a moral dilemma right there.
Yeah. No word on if the kangaroos set a lap time or anything, but they were making their way up. But I think they're straight, actually, they're on now that we're watching up the mountain straight that they come down. So, yeah, so this is the Ferrari of Bathurst. Once again, members of the public giving us some names that are tricky for us UK presenters to try and pronounce. I wouldn't even know where that name would come from, what country. Do you want to have a guess? Bathurst?
I'm going to go Dutch.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, resetting the server seems to have helped a little bit. We've got 12 guys in now, which is great to see. We have a 24 grid cap, so we've still got a bit of room if anyone joins last minute, but certainly looking good for the moment.
Good mix of cars as well.
So as we run into the final minute of qualifying, let's just quickly run through the order for you. So you have got Chrissy Palmer out front at the moment, 4 attempts clear of Peaceful, and these two were quite closely matched last week. I was somewhere in the middle at some point for got back. But they are very, very fast. So a 2:02.4 still. Chrissy hasn't beaten his time done early on, which is interesting. R. Stallman, who is the father of D. Stallman, is in 3rd place. Then him having a good run so far in qualifying has brought his car up into 4th place. That's a nice big job. Clemson's outperformed him in most of the recent qualifying sessions. Kidd so far on top of him. I might just give the commentators a curse by saying that, but there we go. And then the Hells, as we said, in 6th, D. Price 7th, Strempel in 8th, Palmer in 9th, Larone in 10th, Steves in 11th, and rounding out the grid at the moment, we have Landstyle in 12th. So that's your grid order for the moment. We'll see if anyone can go faster. I think I just saw a purple on Chris's board, so he might be going a quicker lap time. He has. He's just done a 2:02.1.
D. Stallman's just picked him again.
I know that's Steve Stillman that's just jumped over. Yes, well spotted. So look at that. Chrissy will be seething if I know Chrissy after that.
I don't think Chris is going to be open to a chat after this. Right. We'll have to, he'll be furiously trying to change the setup or something like that. I mean, he's very into his setups. You've had a lot of conversations with him over the last week or so, haven't you, about changing this and you can talk about
tweaking stuff here and there. And that's what's great about this game. It's so accurate that you absolutely can go in and tweak the settings like you would on a real race car. I say it's great. If you're someone like me that struggles with that side of it, then you kind of need a race engineer to come and set the car up for you to be competitive. But yeah, out of the box they're great, and the game gives you a couple of preset setups as well as an aggressive and a safe preset setup to use. that are usually within a second or two of where you need to be. So qualifying is over. Before we go through the final grid order, because it did change up a little bit, we'll just go to a quick ad about our charity race, and then we'll be ready for race one very soon. There we go, green lights, and we're off once again. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves to strap in for 30 minutes of Bathurst at the Mount Panorama Circuit. The drivers are on the grid making final setup changes. Charlotte and I are here ready to take you through the action as it unfolds. And a quick look at the grid then. As we saw, D. Stallman right at the last moment hipping Chrissy Palmer to the post. So Stallman first in his Porsche 991 GT3 car, Palmer second, and then the other Stallman. So Chrissy finding himself in a Stallman sandwich. Yeah, Stallman sandwich. So Stallman number 2 is in 3rd place. Then Kidd having a great qualifying run coming in 4th. By the way, Paulina said she's actually supporting Kidd this evening, so not sure if that's quite right when her boyfriend's further down the grid, but there we go. Kidd, a massive muscly Scottish man, by the way, if anyone wants to know, if it's any relevance. He'll love that if he watches this back. This is the test. Clemson in 5th, Verhelst in 6th, Price in 7th, Stempel in 8th, Palmer in 9th. Palmer, we should say. We've got a Palmer and a Palmer. It's always one, isn't there? And Steve's in 10th and Lanston in 11th. So we had a little bit of a drop out there. And as is usually the way, race one's a bit quieter and the grid will probably fill out in race 2. So don't forget there's another race after this. But the drivers are now about to begin their very short formation period, and then we'll be on our way. So this is just before the last turn of the circuit there at the moment, which is Murray's Corner. And around that, they'll have a HUD on their screen at the moment that tells them whether they need to speed up or slow down based on what the game determines is right for where they should start. And all looking pretty good and nice and level so far. No one doing any funny business. Ben's in race control if we need it, but here we go. We're about to start. Lights going out any second.
Green light,
and lights out, we're racing at Mount Panorama Circuit. The Ferrari looking very, very dicey straight away, but Stallman won on the inside there, looking nice and comfortable. Chrissy all over the battery coming out onto Mountain Straight for a nice view here. He's going to get a good slipstream behind him, and he's probably going to be looking to try and hang on to that bumper as much as he can, because he had a 4/10 deficit in qualifying, so Chrissy will be looking to get stuff right under that. Maybe he'll make a move early on, we shall see. Our Stallman looked like he got away cleanly as well. Most of the pack looking good, very good start for Mount Panorama. However, they've all got to get through the mountain for the first time. This is where it can start to get a little bit interesting. As you can see, it might look like there's not much runoff. That's because there isn't much runoff. It's a very, very interesting, tricky section. One wrong move and you are in the wall. And when there's a load of cars behind you, that can cause a lot of impact on the race. So I've seen it before where 24 cars start and 10 finish. We've got 11 starting. So yeah, I'm literally setting up all the commentators' cursors right now.
Neil Pittman is very nicely behind the Arsenal.
Yeah,
so
hanging there. So that's the highest point of the track as they go through that sign. That's called Skyline, and they drop down. The last left-hander on the left here is called Dipper. You can see the drop, just how steep it is in that one corner alone. Everyone having a nice, clean first lap. It's worth to say, very well done at this circuit. Good start so far. So still, Stallman, Palmer, Stallman number 2, R Stallman that is, Kidd hanging on to 4th place. It looks like Clinton in 5th. Verhelst in the Ferrari looks very strong at the start, and it looks like he may have got, no, he hasn't, he's got back. However, Clinton all over the back of Kidd here. These two are in the same chat server, so they'll be chatting on our Discord. They'll be able to tell each other having a look, which it looks like Clinton's going to do through the fastest point in the circuit, which is known as the chase as you come into, through a very fast. Now, that was actually added in a bit later. Oh, Kidd's gone off on the grass. Can he rejoin safely? He was worried about doing that.
Context person, absolutely.
Context person. Well, we're watching Clinton. I want to see what happened with Neil Kidd. I think he's had a little bit of a drama there. I hope he managed to keep going because he did have some good pace, and I know he was worried about running off. But that's giving Clinton a space there. Yeah, so Kidd's got back to 8, 2 tenths off of Palmer, not Palmer. Stallman still leads. Chrissy Palmer is 8 tenths off.
That'll make it interesting racing. He's got the pace to build himself back up to the front end of the grid.
Yeah, that's good. So we should see a nice strong result at the end of the race for Neil Kidd, which is good. Bit of a shame for him there. Paulina will have something to say about that. Let's see what she might have to say.
He's already going up the BMW there for nothing hill, so he's already in his mindset. He's ready to make a win. He's not hanging around. He needs to get back up there.
We've had a hi from Conor O'Brien in chat as well.
Oh, he makes an appearance.
Yeah. Been invited to join a few times, but keeps disappearing. But nice that he's joined the live stream. Hello, Conor. I don't know where your brother is. His brother Dan normally races with us, but not made it tonight, it seems, and I think he missed last week as well. Hopefully we'll see him again soon in the Bentley. Just realised the other Bentley of Heath's not here tonight. Oh, Clinton's just gone off into the gravel there. I'm not sure if that was impacted as well. And as goes a couple of BMWs. Oh, there you go. Bit of a spin there coming down the mountain. But they've got going again. So that was the BMW of Stempel that had a bit of a moment, but it looks like he kind of did a 360 and carried on, which is actually quite lucky, because if you don't, trying to do a frequent turn with those mountain walls either side isn't particularly very easy. I've been there, I've had that problem. Looks like Andy's got going again, so Clinton off and running the 20 car. Nissan, there he is. So a few drivers having a few moments on lap 2. I definitely jinxed it. I literally called that I was going to jinx it. Lap 2 was a bit of a disaster for a few of our regulars. But I think the front 2 managed to keep it out of trouble. Chrissy, I know, has done some 24-hour races in the real world. Obviously, you share that with other drivers, but and he's done some iRacing 24 hours as well. So he's quite used to just setting in lap times without making mistakes. This is where I jinx him as well now. So you can see R. Stallman still sort of in the background of the shot as they come down the mountain straight in towards the hairpin at the end, Forest Elbow, as it's known. But yeah, sorry, Quarry. This is Quarry Bend they're coming into now. It's actually quite an in-cambered hairpin, that, so you can carry a lot of speed through it. And you can see Chris using all of the track on the way out. Of course, you don't want to go too far because there is a wall there.
They actually do like the gap between Arsenal as well, and usually it's the case that the farmers work quite nicely together. Okay, they kind of crack on, they get on with it, they settle in for the first few laps, and then that's it. They really do break away from the fact that Chris is putting on some serious pressure here. It'll be interesting to see if Arsenal can then sort of fall into the traps of the Hurst in the Ferrari.
Yeah, and we had that a little bit last week with Arsenal, and he kind of dropped back a little bit into the mix of some of the next cars. But yeah, the house looking very strong for Ferrari. We saw here quite an aggressive start, very attacking, firm but fair, nothing untoward, and looks like he's carrying that pace forward quite nicely. Chrissy has been sitting at around 8 tenths now for the last couple of laps, so he'll be looking to bring that gap down, but also capitalise on any mistakes. So Kidd is now 1.4 off the back of Steve, so he's got past Strempel in the BMW. Like you said, he was lining him up, he must have made that move stick. And that's good that he's always making his way back through the pack. Quite a close mid-pack, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really close. I think we'll probably see more of the exciting racing happening, and that sometimes is the way. If the leaders are setting good times and they break away from one another, it's actually that's where we can sometimes in the middle, a little bit more going. We can see Neil Kidd starting to look up the inside of the Nissan there. So he's lining up his next move.
Yeah, he's looking very good here. And that will be Steve's again. He's another one of our regulars, so he'll be looking for Kid and waiting for him, and they'll be talking in the chat. So, yeah, nice little move here coming into turn one. Can he make it stick? Oh, yeah. They didn't give each other any more room than they need to, but he certainly made it work. And I think potentially Steve's here sort of almost a bit like the cork in the bottle waiting to come out, and was holding that little pack up a tiny bit. But look at that. Interesting. It's a straight out drag race now as they drop down the sort of hill towards the tight hairpin from before. So, Kid just bouncing off the wall a little bit there. The cars can take a bit of a knock, but yeah, you do really notice it.
That as well. Pretty much
yeah, Paulina might want to consider where her loyalties lie now because Danny's overtaken Kid. And it's such a shame after strong qualifying that he's just had that bit of bad luck there. I'm surprised that Steve didn't yield the corner a bit sooner, but you know it's his race as well. They want to hold on to every place they can. All running in the top 10, which is great. I think we still have the full start of the race at the moment, so that's nice to see. We saw a few drivers have an incident, and it's so easy just to bail out of these online races after the crash. But most of the guys that do join our server, they do stick around for the race, which is great. But you know, this becomes a bit of an extended test session for those that have a bad race. You can see there, Danny now looking at the BMW with Stremple, which is great. Yeah, lots of action going on at the front. Still looks like it's the same towards the front. I think Arsenalman has dropped back a bit more. It's now about a 3-second gap you can see on our screens. The house has dropped back a tiny bit further off of him. What do you think so far?
It's been a really exciting race so far, hasn't it? And I think it's nice to come back to a circuit that is a little bit more tight towards the end and have as much track width as what we've been used to. We've been at some pretty big circuits over the last weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, lots of sort of nice bit of space from them, but this one, yeah, very narrow in places, and you can see that's got a couple of them out already today. So interesting then, Stremple back past Danny. So having a right dice in the middle of the field here, which you know is good in one way for us, but won't be doing their race any favours because it will just let that front pack get away. And you can see actually Stremple is 7 seconds behind Verhelst, which we know is a few seconds behind Stallman. Good to check in on the front and just see if they're still lapping well, maybe even ride on board, because it's quite a fascinating ride through the mountain section of this circuit. Chrissy's still on the hunt. He must have had a bit of mistakes in this. He's 2.4 seconds off of Stallman now. He'll be absolutely red mist coming down, trying everything he can for the AMG there.
It'll be interesting to see what's actually taken, because he was very dominant for the first 3 quarters, or right up until pretty much the very last lap in qualifying, wasn't he? So somewhere Stallman has found quite a considerable amount of place where he's lost a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what's happened.
Yeah, and like all tracks and all races to do with GT3, the tyres make a big difference. And I know from one of the races I did here in this game that the tyres went off quite quickly. I did literally about this time, 10-15 minutes, with quite an aggressive setup on. So it may be that he's just thinking a little bit too much, as he has a big moment there, running off onto the grass. Of all the places to go off, that's probably the one where you can get away with it. So it comes into a heavy braking zone after the long Conrod straight into the turn 21/22, which is the chase. So that's the section that was added in at a later date because it was actually deemed the straight was far too long to start with. They came into that last corner all the way down that straight without anything to slow them down originally, but it was the first World Touring Car Championship that way to that because FIA rules dictate you can't have a straight that long. So it's still a damn long straight, but yes, not quite as long as it was before.
So Chrissy's going to be working really hard now to try and get the tyres back to temperature. What's really good about this game is it does simulate that if you go off on the gravel, you have got gravel on your tyres, which is something that no driver wants to midway through a race when you're trying to hunt down the leader.
Yeah, and that's actually massive kudos to Kunos, who are the developers of this game, and also to Pirelli. Actually, Pirelli tyres pretty much just gave an open book to Kunos when they were developing this to have all of the data that Pirelli tyres have gathered from these series over the years. Hence, you'll hear some nice Pirelli logos in the game. But that does mean that they've got a tyre modelling so bang on, which is really, really good. So still the mid-pack battle rages on, which is good. Clinton back onto the back of the kid. It's kind of where he was a few laps ago, except Danny's now in front of them both. But as Pauline has quite rightly put,
winner out of this, so got that price there, hasn't he?
Yeah, Danny Price is going pretty well, and you know, dare I say it, but it's usually thanks to his sort of nice, steady, consistent pace that he sets that wins in the long run. Oh, that was very close coming down into the dipper there. Oh, he went into the wall. They actually haven't triggered the next camera angle yet, which means that probably ended quite badly. Yeah, Danny Price now limping out of that corner.
It seems like every driver we're talking about at the moment we're cursing. I don't know whether we should just stop talking for a bit or
maybe we'll just sit and watch.
Be a full-blown spectators for.
Maybe we need to talk about Dean Stallman some more and let him drop back into Chris's clutches for a race. Yeah, okay, so that's very unfortunate.
Actually, Arsenal has closed the gap to just 7 seconds for Chris Farmer there in. Has he got back one more? I can't see there.
Yeah, so the house that's actually now overtaken R. Stallman, so he's got back a slot. So R. Stallman not as strong as he normally would be around here, is what he has been in previous races. So the house obviously going very well. Now, what's quite nice as well is we've got Porsche, Mercedes AMG, and Ferrari. So it's making for quite an interesting race. It's good to see 3 different manufacturers up the front as well. In the real world, the AMGs are very good around here. So are the Bentleys as well. Normally, the Bentleys actually won the Bathurst endurance race at the start of this year in the real world. I'm pretty sure that was the case anyway. So they had a really good race. No Bentleys in the race tonight. Normally we have Kurt Keith / Keithy. He's not with us tonight. But, yeah, you can see Stallman still all over the back of the house. So I think that's still not finished yet for them too. But yeah, so. Back to the Danny Price incident. Just as you're coming down the hill there in the mountain, you sort of drop down Skyline through the S's, and the last sort of part of the S's turns 15, 16. It's a massive drop. We saw it on a camera angle earlier, just how sharply it drops, and the car's so easily locked to brake through there. And you've got your foot in the brake, it goes really light, the wheels lock up, and then before you know it, the car's spun around the other way because it's going through the corner. So I think that may be what happened as he went through there. So the section they've just come out of now, they're now going into a bit of the last corner as they start heading out onto the long straight, onward straight, with the kink in it, as we now know, the fastest right-hand kink going to make it a slight corner. So that splits those 2 straights, like I was saying earlier. So they're actually within the legal limit for a straight within an FIA race.
Now the guys here, they're going to have to start thinking about brake bearings as well. Coming up to sort of just over 3/4 of the way through the race, it's a heavy braking. We've got long straights here, but actually in those straights we have got to stop the car to point out the obvious here. So what the guys are going to be doing is to manage the brakes and to keep them cool if they are starting to feel that they're pushing the brakes a little bit too hard. Yeah,
and you can also, even going back to setup, you can play around with your brake cooling ducts as well. So if you're not careful, then you can close them off too much, and that causes you drama as well. So yeah, the brakes play a big part. Heavy braking zones, you can actually see that on the screen in the HUD, so the drivers can see how their brakes are performing. So again, just another useful thing that this game gives you while you're racing. The guys played it, done such a good job. There you go, there's the halfway call. We just saw the rear bumper then of one of the Shiba cars, as in fact that will be one of the Shiba cars about to be lapped, and we're going through the mountain. So still trying to carry on. I can't see through the screen which number car it is at the moment, but yeah, a bit of a nightmare race for those guys, it would seem. Kid I see is 12.8 seconds off of Danny, and Danny is 11 point something off of the car in front. So yeah, a bit of a lap down there on them two, it would seem. So at least they're still running around, which is good. You still might learn something even with a damaged car. Oh, we see Stallman going straight on there. You only get so many chances to do that before you start getting penalised. So he'll have just got a warning in his ear from the games race director. If you're really unlucky, you get told off by the real race director, which is Ben, who we get the luxury of having in our ear while we're streaming as well. Occasionally talks as well, don't you, Ben? Don't know if you're here, but yeah, he'll be monitoring stuff as well. So you get 3 strikes, and then you get a penalty on the 4th when it comes to track limits. So we just saw Stallman using up one of his, And you'll notice, everyone, that it's starting to get dark. And now that's because we are trying out a 4 times multiplier on time tonight. So essentially time is running 4 times faster than normal. So we started in daylight, it's now heading into the night. So it brings a new challenge to an already challenging track now. But it does always look quite pretty, I think, when the lights come on.
From the outside.
From the outside, yeah.
I think that's a very challenging thing when you go into a race, and I've raced 6-hour races myself, you really do have to, that stint where it goes from daylight to night, your eyes really do have to adjust, and you wouldn't think that's such a difficult thing to think about, but it's absolutely something that you have to really adjust to. All of a sudden the apex of the corners might become a little bit more difficult to see, and the guys here, and it's the same in the real world, the guys here are going to have their little quirks in the circuit where they know that's where their braking zone is. And that changes as well, depending on how much fuel they've got on the car. Obviously, they can start braking slightly later in terms of lighter fuel load, but if they're using a lot of wear on the brakes, that's when the adjustments have to start being made. So looking at these little quirks, looking at boards that they might have used as braking reference point before even a turning point, that starts to go. Of course, they've got the lights, but it really does bring a different element into racing full stop.
Like you say, just the tiniest little things can make a difference in grips and braking zones. Yeah, will absolutely change. And it's such a hard track to pick the braking points anyway sometimes, you know, with all these elevation changes. You know, the track actually, from its highest point to its lowest point, is 174 metres difference in elevation. So somewhere around the pit area is the lowest, and then that skyline corner just at the top of the mountain is the highest. And that just also plays into it. If you brake on the wrong part of a hill, the car's light, the brakes will snatch, and you're facing the wrong way very, very quickly. Right, we're riding on board with Chrissy Palmer now, which is good to see. He's just coming towards the end of the lap, so provided we don't see any dramas with anything else with calming boards, we'll hope to try and stick with him so you can see an actual in-car view of the mountain. So we're crossing the start-finish line into turn 1, which is known as Hell Corner. Hell Corner, if you're wondering, because it used to cause a lot of crashes in the early days, very bumpy and uneven in places, so that would cause a lot of dramas, particularly for the bikes. And then we make our way down the 1.1 kilometre long mountain straight, and we head into that planked inwards hairpin. So he'll be looking to maximise his gear changes at the moment. You can see in the HUD, he's got, just like you would in a real car, a gauge telling you when he needs to shift up. He'll be using all the exit on here, make sure he doesn't hit the wall over the curb. You can use that bit of extra track. As long as you're not going 2 wheels over the white lines, then you're okay in terms of those track limits we talked about before. Again, you can see we're starting to climb up the mountain now through this very fast flowing section, again with no runoff. So you've got to use that little bit of space you've got. You can just see he's hoping the front will bite there and not hit the wall. It's scary to watch, let alone be the one trying to actually control the car through.
He's looking like he's having to work quite hard through there as well.
Again, grass straight over that curve there. This is Skyline, we've got down through the S's, the famous part of Bathurst. And the bit where we saw a few drivers getting it all wrong. Here's the dipper look. Car goes very light through the left, and then we come into the last corner in just a second, which will take us back out onto that long straight, the Conroy Straight as it's known. Conroy Straight because back in the early days of racing here, a number of cars blew the engines up because of the extreme high RPMs that they're reaching. So where we have this kink in the corner now, you didn't have that before. So he's about to go for a fast, flat-out right. So really, it's not a corner, but it is a corner as far as the FIA is concerned. That allows us to go racing here with GT3 cars.
Close to the regulations.
Yeah. Not going straight on that time like we did earlier, which is good. Under the Lick Molly Circuit banner and hotel on the right into the last corner, which is Murray's Corner, number 23 on this 23 corner lap. And we're about to cross the line in a 2 minutes something, 3.4. Remember, they're doing low 202s in qualifying, they're lapping 203s at the moment, so just where the track's pulled off, tyres will be wearing out a little bit, they just drop off that pace a little bit. Chrissy 5.4 seconds back from D Schoolman at the moment. As we saw, he's holding 8 tenths for quite a while, but he's not really been able to recover from whatever that mistake was that we missed on camera, but cost him about a couple of seconds and he's just got back ever since. So that really shows what the toe can do forward.
Quite interesting to see there that the gap between Chrissy Palmer and Kelsey between the Mercedes and the Ferrari then has actually increased quite a bit. So else that Ferrari is now 13 seconds a lap behind. It's not to say that that can't be gained in 8 minutes left, but that's quite a substantial gap that's been created really between the two cars.
I can't believe how quickly it's actually got dark.
Yeah,
it's just all kind of come at once. Now, there's another problem. Unless they pitted, the Shiba cars we saw both had a bit of a fight with the wall, and we know who won out of that battle. It was the wall. But that can do bad things for your headlights. So they look like they're on whichever one it's in the back of that pack. It's Danny Price that we just saw on our screens briefly. And then I think kids in there as well, because they're in the process of being lapped because of their damage. But the point I'm getting at is the lights can actually get damaged in this game as well. So I think actually the rear lights in one of those Shiba cars wasn't on. So that's not particularly helpful. And I actually had it before where it simulated a loose connection and the headlight would flash under braking because of course the car's under a lot of load and shaking. So the headlight would actually flash on one side. So you're getting darkness and then light and darkness and light on and off again. So again, not very helpful, but definitely good for the realism. And of course these sort of things can happen. But when we say that this game goes into great detail, it really, really does. So it's been quite a one-sided affair at the moment. Then D. Stallman absolutely back to form as a car goes wide in the background there, sliding across the grass. I think that was Neil again. Neil, I think perhaps thought he was joining Dirt Rally tonight. Bit of a fan of Dirt Rally is Neil, but I think he's in Dirt Rally mode and not GT3 car mode, sadly. But top respect to him that he's carried on this race, because it's so easy to just quit when you have a bad start like that. I was going to say he's still running 10th, but I think, there's 10 cars in the race. But, he's still going. He's still running.
Yeah.
Danny's still in 8th. So the Shiba guy's having a bit of a disaster after what looked like quite a promising race. Andy, we've not mentioned too much. Clinton on your screen right now, coming back towards the camera. He's had a pretty solid race. He's in 5th, so he's kind of the best of the rest at the moment in terms of that sort of front pack that originally broke away. And he's kind of ended up running his own race in the last sort of 10 minutes or so, where the dramas of the others, kind of just meant that they disappeared a little bit, and he's running his own little race there. But
running your own race as well, that can be as difficult as being in the pack and having fights with people, because you've got to keep going, you've got to keep pushing, and actually sometimes having someone in front or behind you is enough of a psychological advantage to keep pushing those fast lap times in, especially when it's in the dark. It's quite a lonely place to be on, especially a circuit of this size, kind of just batting around on your own as such. It's a tough place to be. So he's doing well. His lap times with Cooper are looking quite consistent then. You can see sparks are flying now. So again, that shows how realistic everything is. So he's starting to really hit over those curves.
Yeah, and again, just beyond those curves is a wall. So the wall doesn't move backwards when it's dark. You've got to really, really think about it. And at this point, he'll be wanting just to get that car home nicely. Although I've just noticed our Stallman's had a moment because Cliff's now 1.5 seconds off him. And he will absolutely see that. Just as he's coming onto a straight, he will see a second half ahead of him, our Stallman. So he'll see the rear lights of that Porsche that we're looking at the moment. So that will very much be a target that Cliffs will be aiming for now as we get to the closing stage. Final 5 minutes at the Mount Panorama circuit. Now, if you're watching, don't forget, once this race is over, we have another race after a very short break. So drivers are doing it all again, another 30-minute race, a chance to redeem themselves from some and continue the success for others. We usually find some more public to join as well, because it is a public server that others can join. So we should have a bigger grid for the next one, hopefully, but plenty of action, even with the 11 that we had, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a really good race. The first 3 laps were quite a lot, weren't they? Quite fast. It was actually happening all the way across the track. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any movement in the next qualifying, or setup changes. Do we know if they're running the same setup on the server in terms of running the day tonight again in race 2?
Probably, because you have to restart the server to be able to change those sorts of things. So unless Danny Price is planning that, we'll probably not. So yeah, we'll have the same again, but certainly not the same again in terms of the cars. But it'll be interesting to see, like I say, if more join, what that can do. There's not been a Honda join, but in the game, the Honda NSX is particularly fast around here. We did a race around here a few months ago.
Yeah, I think there was a Honda qualifier, wasn't there, but didn't quite make it into the race.
Yeah, they dropped out for some reason, but yeah, when they do, they're very fast. So our Stallman looks like he's just bridging that gap back out again. The house is still sort of eyeing up Palmer, but from a distance, he'll just see him as literally other ends of the straight after that 5.9-second gap that they've got. And Chrissy, 14-second gap, it's Chrissy that's 5.9 off of D Stallman. So Chrissy's kind of stabilised that a little bit, but it's too little too late at the moment. As we were saying, they were doing sort of 203s, and in qualifying it was low 202s. Stallman did a 202.1, Chrissy 202.4. So they're definitely lowered the pace. Of course, that'll just be where it's now in game at 9 o'clock at night. So it'll be cooling off quite a bit. As you say, it's an interesting climbing up here. It's high up, so it will cool off quite a bit at the moment. The lap record around this circuit, as I say, was actually created by a GT3 car. So they are the fastest teams that lap around the Bathurst track. And it was a McLaren actually that set that fastest time, the 650S GT3 in 2016. So that was by Shane Van Dispersion, and it was a 2:01.5. So another interesting thing is look at the lap record time for a GT3 car versus what they're doing in the game. It's actually not that different.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure in the pro race leagues they are doing those sorts of times. Not to say these guys are slow, because they are some pretty serious lap times to be doing in game.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we can say we've Mr. Palmer both known him personally quite well with his extensive race experience he's had. That's absolutely going to help when it comes to what he's doing in terms of stepping up in the car. You can see when you talk to him that he's got such a good technical background in what he's doing. And he's raced GT cars and single seaters, so very much aerodynamic based on the time. But he's had a real big mix. With what he's done. We don't actually know what the Stallmans have done in terms of racing background, whether it's they've raced in the circuit or they've just spent a hell of a lot of the time in the game. But I think either way, you know, it's an absolute great credit to them that they are doing the lap times that these pro drivers are doing.
Yeah, and we've seen that quite a bit actually in the other sort of racing series that you can find on like the SRO GT Series. That the sim racing drivers can set blistering fast lap times. You know, usually the same or faster than the real world pro drivers in the game, but it's the racecraft that then mixes it up a little bit when they all have to kind of get around the same bit of track. So, as we say that, D Stallman enters the last lap of the race, so lap 14. So just 14 laps, and it'll be 15 laps when it's done, making up the 30-minute race. As I said, there's another one coming up after this, so please don't go anywhere. There will be another race start, another qualifying to enjoy. But at the moment, it's looking like D Stallman's got a 1 lap between him and another victory in our InGear Motorsport League. Chrissy dropped about a second from the previous lap there, so yeah, he did try and stabilise the gap, but it looks like it's dropping back out again. Interestingly, yo-yoing, and again, you know, I think that those gaps are yo-yoing because it is such a hard track to not make a mistake. You know, you so easily drop back and lose a bit of time. You know, for all we know, it was D Stallman that lost a bit of time and let Chrissy get closer. So here he is then, coming through the mountain section for the final time. Looking safe so far through the fast left. He'll be dropping down the hill through Skyline any moment now.
Yeah, I must say that looking from here, the car does look in great shape, doesn't it? He's not oversteering through any corner. He just looks absolutely planted everywhere. He looks as committed on this lap as what he did on the first, second, and third lap. So, you know, he's not really playing it that safe, is he? He knows that he's just trying to set the lap times. He knows that he's got that, hopefully, that win in the bag for him. But like we say, anything can happen. This is a long lap.
Yeah, I mean, even down to the fact that you could be really unlucky and get a puncture. You know, that can happen as well. It almost looks like there's tiny specks of rain coming across the screen. Like I said, Danny Price loves to just throw a bit of cheeky rain into the mix, so it could be the case. But in a car like this, with the types of tyre temperature they generate, a bit of light rain, especially late in the race, won't really affect them too much. Not like a go-kart where even a drop of rain is like ice.
Guys will be quite thankful that the rain's coming in the last race. He's flashing his lights there in victory. Another win for D Stallman.
Yeah, well done once again to D Stallman. Don Stallman, he's had a fantastic race there, got in the lead, drove away. Chrissy will be coming across the line to take second place. Verhelst having a good run, he dispatched of our Stallman, so only one Stallman on the podium, but 3 different manufacturers, which is great to see. So well done to him, and he's a newcomer to our stream, so it's good to see new people joining. Arsenal were crossing the line, and Kidd, albeit a lap down, will also now be finished in the race, but actually Danny Price, Steves, Clinton are all coming across the line in 5th, 6th and 7th. So the Fellas guys having a good race then, the two Nissans, 5th and 6th in the end, after it all played out. So don't forget, another race coming up very shortly. And we also did mention everyone that we had that advert for the Doing a Safer charity race coming up very soon. So please look out for that. That's happening on the 25th of July. And that'll be a race to raise money for the Red Cross. So we'll be doing that. Everyone that saw racing tonight and a few more that are signed up will be entering. And we'll be running a 90-minute race. And Charlotte and I'll be here on the commentary for that. So this is still quite new commentary for me and Charlotte as well. But I mean, what are you thinking about 90 minutes of this?
Yeah, we'll make it work. I think it's all for a really good cause. I think it's really important. Everyone's been touched by what's happened over the last few months in very different ways, but I think one thing that has really come out of it is the charities that already exist and the problems that already exist, they still need help, and they need help more than ever now. So if we can just do a little bit to help over that, and we're doing something that we enjoy, then it's 90 minutes well spent, and I'm happy to talk the whole 90 minutes of it.
Okay, right. Well, before we take a short break, let's just have a quick look at the timings for the rest of tonight's stream. So that will be coming up in just a sec. But as mentioned, we've got another race coming up. So that will be in the form of another 15-minute qualifying session first. So that also serves a bit of a chance for the drivers to try out any setup changes they might want to be ready for race 2. That will be coming your way at 8:35, so we've actually made back a bit of time, which is quite good. We probably find that we'll be just after that, but we were about 5 minutes behind.
The guys will be getting pretty hot after that race.
I'll just notice the guys on the scorecard of the screen are driving in blind formation all there as well, which all looks very nice. Good job, everybody.
They're starting to get into the spirit of things now, and they might not have an audience sat there in their rooms watching them, but certainly from the outside and all our different stream channels that we're doing, I know that the audience says good things about the show there.
Yeah, they're enjoying it quite nicely. Don't forget as well, if you've got a message, send it in a chat. We'll do our best to do shout outs and see them. Might see them straight away, but we are lucky. And you can tweet us as well. So I'm M Taylor Racing, and also the InGear Motorsport channel. You can chat on those. I'm not actually sure your Twitter, but feel free to plug it. You can tweet you as well if they want.
Sorry, me. I mean, Twitter I haven't used for quite a while now. So.
That's the dumb thing for streaming, isn't it?
I know. I need to get into it.
But yeah, there you go then. So qualifying 2 coming up in just under 10 minutes time. Race 2 straight after that, another 30-minute race, and then that'll be us done for tonight's streaming. So do come back or stick with us, and we'll see you again after this short. Hello and welcome back to the InGear Motorsport stream. Once again, we are here at Bathurst, ready for race 2 now. And let me just sort my headphones out so I'm not hearing myself talk twice. Again, looking like I'm having a stroke or something. Right, that's all good. So yeah, we're here ready for race 2. The guys have just restarted our server a couple of times. So we thought we'd just have a quick chat about race 1. Charlotte, how did you think it went?
Yeah, I think it was nice to actually see a bit of action happening in the mid-pack. I think obviously it's great that we've got our normal people coming into the race every week and being completely dominant. But I think it's good to see the progression. I think it was great to see Neil Kidd actually, because I think it's always quite tight between Neil and Daniel Price, isn't it? But actually, maybe you could argue that Neil was maybe the more dominant one this week, and I think it was good. They seem to kind of be picking up on their racecraft a little bit more, which is something that maybe the first few weeks of watching this, I was a bit like, oh, okay, things are a bit different, but everyone seems to kind of settle down now and are just kind of getting into the flow of things.
Yeah, like you say, it's good to see that they're progressing, and Neil a bit unfortunate in that race.
Yeah.
So they're the Shiba Garage team. So when you're watching, that's an Aston Martin with a nice, pretty picture of a Shiba dog on the rear quarter of the car. So it's nice and pretty. Neil jokes that his pet dog Harambe is the team boss. So every now and then we hear him come in and shake his collar in the background, do a little telling off, and then
I think it's great though that you've made these teams as well, because they're kind of, I think I can kind of say it's from a different start, because obviously Mackenzie's in the races every now and then, and I do the commentary on my own. But you guys have built a real community up over this global pandemic, and it's not just the English guys that are racing. You've got drivers that are coming in on the server from all over the place, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people from that are Dutch joining. We've got the Schoolmans who are German, and it's a public service, so sometimes you get a real mix beyond that. I mean, we had Sebi for a while, who's in Romania. He's actually like a member on the Discord and chats to us, which, by the way, it's on the bottom of your screens at the moment, but our Discord is free to join. So that's our little community hub as such, where we plan the races. We vote on the tracks we want to do next, so everyone kind of has a bit of a say. We do some polls, and so yeah, like I say, it's quite nice to have this community going. It's something that we really intend to keep pushing forward with, even as lockdown begins to lift and real racing is happening again. I think sim racing is still here to stay. There's certainly a place for it. So, and we're having fun, enjoying what we're doing. The guys enjoy playing the game. Danny Price, again, one of the Shiba cars, he's actually just got himself a brand new setup. So he managed to get sign off for that.
Sign off for that, yeah. I think we should just, sorry to butt in there, Mackenzie, but I think we should just touch on the fact that F1 was back. It's been back now for 2 weeks. So it's great to see real life racing back on the circuits. It's great to see them racing at circuits that they wouldn't normally be racing at, especially some of the Italian tracks that they've announced and things. But I don't know if you found it quite interesting. Obviously, they've had the official eSport F1 happening, but actually in the real F1, it got completely brushed over the fact that how well George Russell did over those races. He was really dominant. Yeah,
that's a really good point. I remember actually messaging a couple of people, some of the guys in here in our race about it, because George Russell, for anyone that doesn't follow Formula One, he races for Williams, which has not been the best car, to say the least, in the last few seasons. They've ran around pretty much at the back. But he got a seat in Williams, and he's been racing, doing pretty solid performances against his teammate throughout. But of course, he's at the back of the grid because he's in a slower car. They then put them in these esports races, and George has literally done the complete opposite, and he's beat the best of the best.
Yeah.
So I think it really, if nothing else, it highlights just how important being in the right car and the right equipment is in Formula One. I think sometimes people, I know fans in sport will, most of the hardcore fans know, but certainly the ones that drop in and out don't realise quite how much when we say, Mercedes is the best car. It really does make a difference.
It is absolutely, and I think if we kind of sort of put it back, so it's relative towards what we're doing now on the esports side of things. GT racing is obviously crazy expensive. There's hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of budget go into it year on year, but it's nowhere near what Formula One is in terms of budget. But it's millions and millions of pounds, and the differences between the cars, it almost comes down to, this is the car, this is down to how good your setup is. And a lot of the time GT races, it is a 2-person team or a 2-person car, depending on whether you're doing sprint races or endurance races as well. So it comes down to how well you're working together as a team. It's not just, not saying completely, we know it all comes down to money and budgets, and the more money you throw at it, it tends to be the better you do. But it is down to how good is your setup as well. The GT3 cars, the Ferrari, the AMG, they're all kind of, they're there or thereabouts, aren't they? They're not as much as what Formula One is, very much the front of the grid with Mercedes and the back of the grid with the Williams, or, you know, the other teams that are sort of circulating around the back, I think is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, motorsport is a team sport at the end of the day. So, you know, there is a team aspect to it, as much as one driver in the car at a time. We've just getting word that the server's still having issues filling up. So we've got our sort of 6 or 7 sort of regular drivers that are on tonight. There's a couple missing. But usually then there's a good 10 to 12 public drivers that join as well. So we'll be heading on into qualifying in a minute anyway. And, you know, we had a pretty close race even with the drivers that we just had. So it'll be good to see the same guys run a race, even if it just turns out to be them. D. Stallman, he's looking a bit untouchable tonight, isn't he? But I mean, what are your thoughts for race 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I think we should probably just touch on Chrissy has actually had to drop out of the second race. He's got an eye injury. Is that the best way to describe it? But yeah, something's happened. The VR's not kind of playing ball as such. So he might come in. He might come in during qualifying. I really, really hope he does, because I think that actually will make sense as to what happened during the race. I think we can say this. Chrissy's a very, very dominant driver. Dom and his qualifying times, they were literally 3-4 attempts off of one another. And Dom put it in at the last lap, which, you know, that happens. But I think we could see throughout the race that Chrissy was making mistakes that he wouldn't necessarily normally make, and his pace was starting to drop off. Whereas I think we know that Chrissy is a really aggressive driver, and he goes right down to the final meter of the circuit. He'll be fighting. So fingers crossed he'll come back. But if not, I know he'll definitely be joining us next week, which is really good. I just want to kind of throw this to you, because I don't think we've ever had on this channel a chance to kind of maybe ask you or interview you properly. Talk to us about what InGear is and InGear Motorsport, and how this all started, because I know I'm sat here as your wife and been kind of dragged in to help you along with this. But I think it's good to kind of explain about what's going on with the race next week and why you want to do it, and yeah, let's push it.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, in short, InGear Media is a marketing agency, and we do video production. We work quite a lot in the automotive industry. So my background in cars and Charlotte's and a couple of the guys that work with me, you know, we've worked around cars quite a bit. So it kind of makes sense for us to do something car related. So off the back of that, InGear Motorsport was born. And at the moment, it's mostly just the streaming and this side of it, you know, what we're doing now that we see. But, you know, I've done stuff out on real tracks not too long ago, into like drifting days and stuff like that. So InGear Motorsport at the moment is all about kind of content and engagement around motorsport stuff. But then we've got kind of bigger plans for the future with that involving marketing.
I'm just going to steal your phone here. Sorry to phone, because I can see a regular driver's just messaged you. So you carry on chatting, and I'm gonna sort of
maybe Dan's going to come join. So yeah, really that's led us to InGear Motorsport, and then off these streams we kind of did this throughout the coronavirus sort of lockdown period was when it really started. So we kind of thought we'd like to do something to give back a little bit, and I really wanted to do something to give back a little bit. So we actually decided to do a charity race, which is happening next week, next Saturday, the 25th of July, and it's all to raise money for the Red Cross. And although it's the British Red Cross, the Red Cross is a global charity. So we have drivers that race all over the world in our group. So we decided that we'd actually do a charity race for a cause that supports globally as well. So yeah, that's next week. And there is a donation link in the comments on the various channels where people may be watching. We are streaming currently on 2 different Twitch channels, 2 different YouTube channels, and Facebook as well. So you will see a donation link somewhere if you'd like to support that. It'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. It goes straight to the charity through the Tiltify donation link. So, but if you can't see it for any reason, that's at bit.ly/IGM Red Cross, and then that will take you to the page. So bit.ly, Lee is spelled LY/IGM Red Cross. And that's the donation link to get involved with that. Like I say, there's a 90-minute race next week. So we normally only ever do 30 minutes, but the guys are strapping in for 90 minutes. And at Laguna Seca, which is, almost as hard, if not harder at times than this track that we're at tonight, Bathurst. So yeah, that's going to be great to do, great to see, and all for a great cause as well. So really looking forward to it. And I think as it stands at the moment, I'll be in the commentary box with you. May well change, but yeah, I think that's the preliminary plan.
Yeah, I'm just currently sending some reviews to Dan O'Brien, who's one of the regular drivers for him to get on the race at the moment. So fingers crossed he'll jump on.
Okay, so I think the server is starting to gain a couple people in it. So I think the guys will be heading into qualifying in a minute or two's time. We are running a bit further behind our schedule than normal. Normally we're into race 2 almost by now, but that's all good. At least they seem to be getting a couple in. I can see somebody else join, so we'll head over to pre-practice in just a moment. But yeah, okay. Well, race 2 then. What would we like to see? What do we think might happen? Again, let us know in the comments as well if you're watching. If you're cheering anyone on, Paulina was cheering on not her boyfriend but Neil in the first race. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Stormers do as well, because usually I think we can kind of like fairly say that Dom is usually a little bit more dominant than his dad Roland, but who knows around here? I think there was so much that happened and people were making mistakes around here, and I think maybe more mistakes than what we usually see. And actually, if we go back to qualifying, the first race, we actually saw Dom make a mistake that he doesn't normally do. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if anyone has changed the setup. The fact that we're going to go and run the same going into the night as well. I think the guys are doing the same, even though they've reset the server. So I think as well, like touching base on what setup the guys are using. Some are using VR, some aren't. I think that's important for us to have a chat about as well at some point during qualifying or the race if we get round to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will. And the drivers, I've just been notified, have just finished their free practice. So we're going to go ahead and dive into qualifying with the smaller grid that we have due to the server issues tonight, but it'll still make some good racing. But if you're just joining us, tonight we're at the Mount Panorama circuit in Australia. So just located by the small town of Bathurst. So really, really cool street circuit. It is a public road normally when racing is not happening. And it's about 200 kilometres near Sydney, so not a million miles from the coast in Australia. Fantastic track, one of the favourites for a lot of drivers out there in the world. One of those tracks that you really kind of hope to get to race as a driver. So it was one of the few races, or one of the bigger races, that actually managed to go ahead this year before lockdown happened as well. So the Bathurst race happened, I think, in February.
Yes.
And yeah, as we were laughing earlier, they had torrential rain at times. The kangaroos made their way onto the track as well. So
yeah, I think if I recall, I'm not sure if it was qualifying or something happened where it was actually the rain was so major that it was stopped. Like sessions were stopped because of it, which obviously isn't a usual occurrence at a circuit like this. And like you were saying earlier, usually it's running around 40 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, it's over 800 meters above sea level, so it really does have its own climate. And yeah, quite right, it's normally very hot. So 40, 41, 42 plus very easily. So yeah, I do remember I saw a picture of somebody put on Facebook. They'd made like a little paper boat. It was one of the mechanics for one of the teams, and putting a little sailing boat up the pit lane. There was that much water. So probably only about any good for the Bentley, the Boatley as we call it affectionately. With Heath, who's not with us tonight, and Dan, who was watching. He may have disappeared already by now, but yeah, Dan's will be racing with the Bentley as well, Dan O'Brien. But we have the other Danny here tonight, Danny Price and Neil Kidd, the Sheba Garage boys. Strong pace in race 1 for them, but not quite enough to see it through in terms of consistency after they both ran into submissions. But I think they're heading over to quali right now, so hopefully we'll switch to that very soon. And then we can start seeing what's going on. But I know the drivers will be making some setup changes and having a bit of a play around. Yeah, I've got where we're just about to switch over. So qualifying has started. So we're a few minutes into qualifying. But being the fact that it's over a 2-minute lap, no one's actually set a lap time on the board yet, it would seem. And you only have to run a bit wide, and it invalidates your lap in some of the corners on this track. Or you only run a little bit wide and you hit a wall. So either or, the drivers usually just return to the pit at that point and take a fresh car again without damage. One of the luxuries of racing in a game is you can just go back to the pits and hit the reset button and instantly repair the car again. Obviously not so ideal in the race because then you're out of the race, but in qualifying practice, that's something you can absolutely do in these games. So again, Charlotte and I can see the comments in the stream while we're watching, so do feel free to say hello and comment. We'd appreciate it. We'll say hello and shout back as best we can. So at the moment, we're watching A. Clemson, one of the fellas racing Nissan cars, making its way through the mountain section here at Mount Panorama. Good strong pace for him in that race as well. I mean, once again, the regulars not too far apart in terms of lap times, despite being in different cars. As you said before, Charlotte, like Kid was looking pretty good, probably the best of them in that one. Best of the rest after the Stallmans and Chrissy Palmer, who sadly is not in race 2. But they're looking like they're all out on the track now as well. So we'll see some lap times start appearing on the board very shortly. It's a 15-minute qualifying session, 11 minutes to go. Oh, R. Stallman pulling over there in the Porsche. Not sure why. Perhaps he wants to go back to the pits, like I was saying. But sometimes it's because you want to get a new set of tyres. Sometimes you want to change the setup. And sometimes you just hit the wall and you don't want to risk the car having damage. They have a lot of aero on these GT3 cars, of course, just like the real world ones. So a tiny little bit of damage is enough to cause a big impact on performance. So when it's qualifying, you just reset. That tends to be the best bet.
Yeah, we didn't actually sort of follow the Stallmans too much in qualifying because there was, as a duo, I should say, because we was kind of watching the times between Stallman, Dean Stallman, I should say, and Chrissy Palmer, because Chrissy, like we said earlier, was absolutely dominant through pretty much the whole of qualifying until the last lap, which is not a nice place to be, because sometimes you can think 3 or 4 tenths out ahead. You sometimes can be sort of lured into a false sense of security and think, right, I'll come back into the pits, I've done enough, I can't push anymore, the tyres are where they are, and then there's nothing worse than someone going and setting a lap that's faster than you literally on the last lap, because unfortunately there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. And whereas, like you say, in this game you do have the luxury of going back with a new fresh set of tyres on, where really in reality when you're qualifying you've got maybe 2 laps maximum on a set of tyres, so out lap a couple of full-blown send it kind of laps and that's it. So you do have to really time what you're doing in qualifying quite particular, and that's where all the engineers and people will be following the track temperatures and what's going on with the weather. There's so much happening back in the pit lane. It really isn't just a division of let's get you out and let's see how fast you can go when you get to this level of motorsport.
And of course, a track this sort of size, it's 6.2 kilometres long. One part of the track could be completely different weather-wise to another. So, some of those team members will be spotters around the track and to report back if there's rain happening at certain areas. So the team's going to, of course, take that into account, because particularly during the Bathurst 12 hour, for example, it can be quite tricky to, particularly at night, if you're lapping, to try and figure out the conditions and feel how heavy the rain actually is. We just see spectrum the windscreen in the car. So the spotters will be able to tell whether it's actually a level of rain that we need to think about hitting for wet tyres or, no, stay out, it's fine. So there's all these different aspects going on. You don't quite have the equivalent of a full race team set up when you're in the game, but you do have a little in-car race engineer that's a virtual one managed by the game. So he can tell you little things like, mostly he just tells me that I need to go faster in a certain sector, which is always not the most helpful thing, but there you go. But he can also tell you things like if there's a car on your inside, if it's left or right, when you're clear, those sorts of things. So particularly, some of the angles in screens or VR, might not always be easy to see how clearly or how close a car is. So the spotter can help with that a little bit. I noticed our Shiba cars running fairly close together on the track. They never like to be too far apart, these two. It's quite a nice little romance story.
Romance going on there.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting though, and we were talking about this earlier. They're working together, but not in the same way that maybe a team would in the real world. And maybe that's something that, you know, you guys talk about back in the Discord chat or whatever. But, you know, on a circuit like this, there's real advantages of having someone, you know, pulling you along. Okay, once you're in the race, that's kind of fair game, go for it. But yeah, work together, get yourself as far up that grid as you can before, you know, before the race, and then it gives you the best chance. But none of the teams seem to be working like that, and that's what I wanted to see. I wondered whether a few laps ago when we saw Stallman and D Stallman pull over, maybe he's waiting for his dad to come round, or but.
So when you say work together, then it's assuming somebody doesn't know, you know, they're fairly new to racing. What could they do to work together?
I think, well, absolutely, they would go out of the pit literally together, all just
bouncing off the ball again.
Bouncing off the ball again. Hopefully, this isn't going to be the commentator's curse there of what we did in race 1 to him and pretty much everybody. So yeah, well, we'll see. But yeah, getting back to the working together as a team, use each other, use the slipstream. That person behind has obviously got the clear benefit of having that. You know, that toe as such on the straights, and especially when there's 2 straights as long as what they are at Bathurst. You know, and okay, someone set a lap, swap it around, and then whoever goes first out there, like I say, that's fair game. There's always going to be someone before and after, but it's just using that sort of benefit and of having the team there to work through. So I don't know, maybe we'll see them work together a little bit more over the coming weeks, because I know that we're going to start with the championship, and maybe that will sort of be taken a bit more seriously, and there'll be more sort of tactics taken through when people start to really have a championship and championship points in mind, because I think that's a completely different style of racing to what these guys are used to as well.
Yeah, and you've got to think about that. So it sometimes makes just hanging on with that bit of damage in the race and not giving up a little bit more worthwhile, because there's points at stake that add up to the greater, you know, championship. So they'll be thinking about those things as we move into that series. We'll be starting that, I think it's the 4th of August is the first round of our GT4 mini series, which, by the way, is free to enter. So this is a public server that anyone can join. You can register at InGearMotorsport.com. There's a registration form on there to join some of our races. The GT4 series one will open up soon. But yeah, the Goodness Sake of Charity race is up next. So that's on there now for people to sign up and register. Also links you through to our Discord, where you can get involved in the chat and community. And like I say, that's where we make our plans, and we all vote on the tracks we want to race. So the GT4 mini series that we're doing, the vote actually just closed on that today. So we've got Brands Hatch, Monza, Suzuka, and Silverstone, which got voted out of all the tracks of the top 4.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix. I'm a pretty big fan of sort of 3 of those. Silverstone I've never really got on that well with. It's a great track and a real well-played game. I just struggled a little bit, but yeah, with like really cool tracks. And Monza, as much as it can be a little bit chaotic, throws up some great racing. There's all the slipstreams that people can get. So we have 4 minutes left of qualifying, and currently it's R. Stallman, unsurprisingly, on pole with a 2:03.1, which is still actually a second a lap slower than he was in the first qualifying tonight. So lost a little bit of time, or maybe just hasn't quite hooked up a lap yet. It's not as easy as you might think.
His last lap wonder, like he did.
It does like a last lap wonder.
Yeah, I mean, if we go into talk about last week's race, he literally coming to qualifying, did a lap, did an out lap, and set a lap with 2 minutes left in the clock, and just stuck it in the pole. So yeah, he's got a little bit of a tendency to do that and kind of sort of, I guess, annoy you guys a little bit with that.
Yeah, one of our 2 regular German contenders, him and his father. But yeah, they're both extremely fast. So it was actually D Stallman on pole last time. But yeah, both of them lapping slower at the moment, like I say. But D Stallman, like Charlotte says, loves to pop a lap in last minute. So we'll be interested to see. He's only got 3 minutes left. So it looks like he's coming down the mountain straight now. Yes, he is, into the hairpin at the bottom. So yeah, not much time left if he is going to do something. He'll get 1 more lap after this, certainly. But yeah, they're going to have to make these count. Clemson currently in 3rd, only a couple of cents quicker than Kidd. So Kidd, we know, has got a little bit in the bag for sure from race 1. Steve's then splitting the 2 Shebas. They won't be liking that. Kidd and Danny have got and Nissan between them at the moment. They do prefer to be one and two together. As a car looked like it was off at the side of the track there. There was a green flag waving. So D Storm will continue his lap. As he drops down the S's, you see the big dip there, as it is known as the dipper. As I said before, the elevation changes are huge on this track. It's over 170 metres from top to bottom throughout the whole mountain. So the lowest point around the pit lane, and the highest point we saw just at the top of that mountain section there. But now he thunders up the Conrod Straight, aptly named because of the number of engines that have bit the dust up that straight over the years. Used to be longer, but as we established in race one, there's a kink that got put in ready for the first World Touring Car Championship race, so that it classed as two separate straights, because that wouldn't have been legal otherwise in FIA rules. So really fast track in places, but also very technical in the mountain section as well. You notice there's a hotel on the right there as well, on the left now as the camera changes shot. There's actually about 40 different private residences in this around this circuit, sort of inside and out the track grounds. So it's quite an interesting place in the sense of it's quite warm and welcoming. There's businesses, there's a winery, there's restaurants, there's luxury hotels. There's even an orchard at one point, sort of down the side of the mountain. So it's got it all. If you're out camping in one of the camps to go and enjoy while there for weekend racing. So closing stages of qualifying, still R. Stallman is pipping D. Stallman at the moment. So did they share a setup or something, or has D. Stallman just not put a lap in yet? Judging by the lap time, I'd say D. Stallman just not put his best lap in yet. But that could make for an interesting race because, you know, Danny Price, Kidd, they all were pretty close to the lap times of R. Stallman. And you can see at the minute, they're only half a second off. Now with a slipstream up those two massive straights, you know, one of the straights is just over 1 kilometre long, and the other one is nearly 2 kilometres long. So plenty of opportunity to hook underneath somebody's slipstream. That might just be enough to pull them along. Still, D. Stallman, he's gone quicker, but he's only 1/10 off. So he's still not beat his dad to pole. Now,
it's going to be an interesting race start between these two.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation if it went wrong as well.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. I mean, we spoke to him a little bit through like Instagram and some various social accounts, but we don't know quite that much info about them really, as we see Danny Price coming into the pits just as the timer ends. So the way it works in qualifying, if the timer hasn't reached 0 yet, as long as you cross the line, you can finish your lap. So I think at least one of the Stallmans is still going on a lap. And you can see in the screen there's a little checkered graphic next to Danny Price. That means he's now finished. But everyone else currently is still lapping or yet to finish a lap. So it can all still change, even though the clock says 0. And this is R. Stallman at the moment. Currently our pole sitter, but D. Stallman was quicker in race 1, a whole second quicker than what they're doing at the moment. So is he going to, like we say, fire some magic lap time in at the last moment? So we'll be back with the full result of qualifying in just a moment, but here is a short ad about our free-to-join Discord. Okay, so welcome back. We're here at Bathurst, moments away from race 2 of the InGear Motorsport live stream. a much smaller grid after some technical issues with the server tonight, so it is just 6 of our regulars, and even then there's a couple of the regulars missing. Chris has dropped out, but still these 6 will put on a great race for us. They had a great race in the mid-pack with these guys in the first one, so the grid order then is up on your screen at the moment. You've got R. Stallman taking his first pole in a few races. It's normally been D. Stallman picking him to the post, or Chrissy Palmer, as I say, who's not with us for the rest of the night. So a little bit of a changeover on the front row, but that's all good to see, and that makes for a good race, I think.
It's actually a very neat grid if you look at it. Sorry to interrupt there, but we've got 2 Porsches,
Yeah.
2 Aston Martins, and 2 Nissans, which is great for my CDs. So.
The Noah's Ark of motorsport is about to happen in Australia.
Yeah.
So Danny Price outperforming Neil Kidd there. Paulino once again backing the wrong man tonight. Probably should stop winding her up in the chat. And then yeah, super big support. We love you really, Paulino. And then Clemson 5th, Steve 6th, and the drives are about to start. So let's check out the action. Ready for lights out, race 2.
Interesting this time as well. They're starting in the dark.
Yeah. There is a multiplier on, so we'll get light soon. It's darker than light. And it's green lights. We're racing. Race 2. You can see Clemson in the background pulling straight to the middle, ready to have a look. Neil up on the inside, potentially. No, he has a look, but doesn't make a second installment. You can see actually, yeah, Clemson muscles his way past Neil Kidd there, I think that was. Yeah, and he's having a look at the other Shiba car as well. That Nissan got a lot of drag up the mountain straight, heading down into the elbow hairpin. But still, I think the Stallmans stay the same way around. Yes, they do. Our Stallman fends off Don Stallman. We normally see these guys fight very, very fairly, and I expect nothing different, especially on lap 1 of a 30-minute race. So everyone looking nice and neat and tidy, but it's the mountain section that you've got to really watch out for. One wrong move and you are in the wall. But everyone looking nice and big. Great start from Clemson though. Straight up from, I think it was 5th or 6th on the grid up into 3rd place. So really, really good start. Really put it through to the inside of the Shebas there and muscled his way past. Great drag on the car up the straight as well. So the driver's rounding the fast left-hander before Skyline, where they then drop down. So this is now the peak of the mountain. You can see that background there, how high up it is. They drop down. You don't want to get your braking wrong through here because the car will go light and it will snap the brake very easily, especially through the dipper section that you see just here. Still, Clemson going in very late there. That looked very, very close. Yeah, but he managed to not go into the back of D. Stallman. So pretty sensible, clean first lap so far, which is how it went down last time, but it was lap 2 where it all started to get a little bit chaotic. But R. Stallman sticking ahead of D. Stallman. Clemson made it up to 3rd, still hanging in the background. The Shiba car looking a little bit wild on the grass there. Was Neil Kidd playing a bit of dirt rally again, or did he hold it on the track? I think he just about held it.
I must say,
nice front
Clemson was very racy then, wasn't he? He looks like he's got something to prove there. Yeah,
and he really likes this track as well. So he was one of the ones that voted for it in our poll in the Discord. Again, you saw the ad just now. You can join that. The links are in most of our descriptions around our channels, wherever you're watching. So feel free to join and get involved. So we thunder up Mountain Straight once again. Can anyone make a move? And this is where the slipstream plays into effect. Clemson's got a 7/10 deficit to the car ahead. So, you know, that's still plenty close enough to get himself nice and tucked under the slipstream with the car ahead. But he won't want to drop back much more, which it looks like he potentially will do. So, yeah, you can see the sun's kind of that point where it's just setting. And we've got a bit of a multiplier on tonight in terms of the time. So it'll actually go faster than normal. So it's going to get dark very quickly. And then we may even see it get light again. I'm not sure quite how fast it will go, but we'll see. But that's why it may seem like it's getting dark very, very quick. So Danny Price in 4th, Kidd in 5th, Steve's in 6th. So yeah, Andy really having a good race with the fellas cars at the moment. See the sparks flying everywhere where the cars are hitting the deck. You always want to run a car as low as possible. It makes it better in terms of aerodynamics and helps the car go faster, lower central gravity, more grip. But go too much and ground out, and then suddenly you may as well be in a toboggan because your wheels are off the ground. The floor tray's on the floor and not the wheels. You're just sliding along. And you don't really want that when there's concrete walls either side of them. So the car's literally decked out as low as you can probably get away with.
It's absolutely about getting the balance as well. You know, this circuit is very friendly to can use the curves. If you go a little bit too much of them, some of these curves are very, very high on the circuit, which maybe looking sort of on the view that we are, you can't actually see the depth of them, but I think it just shows the sparks run how deep they actually are. So they're using the curve, but they're using the right amount. They're not sort of overstepping that mark. But yeah, if they went any more than that, then you can start to see that offset the car could go like the car end up in the barrel because there just is no run up on the circuit. And that's where their precision in that comes to be absolutely on point everywhere. There's only sort of a few places that you can really say that actually looks like a real circuit and not something that's also been taken off the road.
So still the same order in terms of Stallman, Clinton, Kidd, and then Steve's now splitting the nice symmetrical grid of 2x2, putting himself in his Nissan between the two Aston Martins in 5th place, and then Price in 6th. What's nice is we're halfway around lap 2 nearly, and it's still relatively close. The two Stallmans are definitely going to put on a show, I think. For us, Steve Stallman won't be able to get past too easily. He's going to have the same sort of pace in terms of the straight line as the car ahead, because they're both Porsche on Porsche. I imagine they're probably running a similar setup, being father and son team, but you never know.
You'd like to think so, but we don't. We just don't know. But you can see through some of the camera angles that these companies are all over the back of him. It's like it's just almost Arsenal have been sticking that waiting, and we have seen that as well. We saw that at the races ago. Nürburgring that our Ronald, the father out of the Ronald, the father out of the duo. He's dominant through the whole race, but actually Dom just kicked him to the post and got him on the last lap. So it'll be interesting to see if this race unfolds in the same way.
What would be quite nice, and I'm putting the request into our race director, that we actually ride on board on the rear view cam of the lead car through the mountain, because that would be quite cool. So yeah, when we get up into the mountain section.
That was a small hint there, Ben.
Just a small hint, yeah. Especially as my WhatsApp is there. So they come into the final turn, Murray corner, and we'll head up the straight up towards turn 1, which is Hell Bend, or Hell Corner. This was one of the tracks that was around in the very early days of motorsport, first raced in 1938. And you can imagine racing around a mountain is pretty dangerous, but Hell Corner was so named for the number of accidents it had. And in bike racing, quite a lot of people had some serious injuries for it. So
I think as well, it's worth putting into context. I mean, I think we all appreciate how long ago 1938 was, but in terms of where cars were in the, just the automotive industry as a whole, safety wasn't a priority. So you could kind of see that in the reflection of the fact that this circuit was allowed to go ahead. Would a circuit like this now get signed off? You don't know. All these great roads, flash tracks, I call them like just real old school circuits. They're so different to the way that some of the more current ones do. If you look at Silverstone and the way that is the gravel circuit now. So the industry, whether it's the car that you drive on the road or racing, it's come a hell of a long way, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's moved forward a lot, but it is nice as well that you get this nod back to the past as they drop down the mountain. As I say, 170 metres difference between the highest and lowest points. Very, very fast through the S's there. Lots of elevation, sharp changes. Come into the last corner before they head out onto the Conrod Straight. And you can see they really are neck and neck. And Roland definitely getting a slightly stronger exit out there, which will be great for, because Don's getting this toe in P2 there. Still, I think he's going to have to be defensive. Is this going to be the move going through? It's a fast right-hander up ahead, so it's on the inside. I think D. Stillman is going to get through. This is the moment. But Roland goes, what? Oh my God, he's on the grass. Is he going to hold it? That was intense. He's right across the grass, up the inside. Great moment to be on the rear camera, but that is D. Stillman out in the gravel pit. He's got a lot of work to do to get back in this race. Great driving by him there, actually, in the sense of he knew that was going horribly wrong, and he dived onto the grass so that he didn't take out his teammate, aka his dad. No one wants to rear end their father into the last turn of a corner in any sense of the word. So Don very adamant he wasn't going to do that. That moment's given Clemson a new lease of life. I think he'll be waking up and looking at the Porsche ahead of him. So quite a dramatic moment, that. But you just saw the toe that he got from the car ahead there, just let him go so far past before they got to the right-hand turn on Conrod Straight. Lovely camera angles. They really brushed the wall going up the mountain there. Kid, I've just noticed, is back up into 3rd place. So while we were watching that drama happen, there was obviously some drama in 3rd, 4th, 5th as well. But still Steve's behind him, and then Stallman managed to get back on in front of Price. So that's looking like quite a dicey little battle about to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see where Clinton's stack comes in compared to Stallman as well, because he has looked super competitive. So he's 1.3 seconds away from our Stallman at the moment. So I'm going to be watching quite closely to see whether he can close in on that and see what happens over the rest of this race. But like I say, absolutely. 3rd, 4th, and 5th, that's going to be a bit dicey as well there. So fingers crossed no one makes a mistake, but at the same time, it would be good to see a race and so I'll be the one that says it.
I did say that there's only 6 cars, but they'll still put on a show, and they've definitely done that so far. We're already a 1/3 of the way through this race here tonight. Stallman's dispatched of one of the Shiba cars there,
yeah,
Danny Price.
It's going to be quite interesting to see if he just kind of chips them off bit by bit to see where he is faster and what his race pass like. This is actually the first time that we're going to be seeing him properly racing through pack.
Coming up very close to the back of Steve's there. I mean, I've raced quite closely with him even last week at Zolder. He was behind me for the first 10 minutes of the first race.
Yeah,
he's going to the outside. Steve's being quite sensible there, I think, actually, knowing that there's no point trying to defend that too hard. Stallman's a good second a lap faster. Very clever driving, really, because if Steve's fought that too hard, then he could find himself back in the clutches of Danny Price in another position lower. So you can see he's only 4.6 seconds back there as Danny runs out onto the grass. Shiba car's loving a bit of grass today. I think we could tout a bit of sponsorship for fly mode for those cars ready for the next race. But at the front, our Stallman really shining in this race so far. Clemson not ready to fully let go just yet, 1.3 seconds dropping back from him. But to be fair to him, that gap has stabilised a little bit, and the incident with Assetto brought him back into contention. Our Stallman will know that he can't afford to make a mistake with that. That's not anywhere near enough of a cushion to be able to ease off. And Clemson certainly won't be as well. He's really pushing quite hard this race, isn't he?
You can see there just how close he's getting to both water. It's a very aggressive driving tactic that he's going for. Like I say, I feel like he's got a little bit of something in the ring that can point through this race. Like you said, is one of his favourite tracks to go for. So he's really going to be well rounded here. And it's good to see the Nissan up there, because actually the last few races it really has been the Porsche and the AMG GTs that have been doing really well. So it's nice to see another manufacturer up there.
Yes, it is good to see a little mix. And the Nissan, those guys will be looking forward to Suzuka whenever we do it next. I actually couldn't tell you if there's a GT4 version of the Nissan. I don't think there is. There may well be, but that's where we'll be using GT4 cars when we go there in a few weeks' time. And don't forget, we have our charity race coming up next week, so feel free to get involved with that. Check out the website, InGearMotorsport.com. There's a link up to let you register for that race and join in. There's also donation links and stuff as well. It's all for the Red Cross, it's all for a good cause, and it's a 90-minute race. So we're nearly halfway through our 30-minute race, so I'm actually quite excited if it's anything like this to have 90 minutes of it to talk about, because these guys are really putting on a good race for us tonight. Clemson has brought the gap down by 2/10 from where it was just a lap ago. Kidd is 2.2 off of that, so if those two get into a battle in the next sort of 5-10 minutes time, he'll be all over them. D. Stallman is already 3 seconds off of Kidd, so he's not hanging around. D. Stallman obviously really wants to pick up for what happened in that first race. But yeah, again, if you're watching in chat, let us know what you think. Comment, want to shout out, anything at all. We'll do our best to do it. We can see it all as we're in here. And camera angles tonight coming to you from Ben Meikle in Race Control. Big shout out to Ben. I think we probably should take a moment just to acknowledge Ben, as much as we're giving some stick. Setting up all of the screen, making sure it's running across the channels, keeping an eye on what's going on. He's also race director. If somebody misbehaves too much, then he can issue drive-through penalties. So it's always worth being nice to Ben anyway, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's worth mentioning that, but you guys run with the safety rating, don't you? So if you are a competitive esports driver out there and you do want to join in, I think it's worth sort of reassuring that all these guys that are racing today, they've done a hell of a lot of time on this game. They're all sensible. As much as they're out there to win, you know, this isn't about trying to upset anyone or, you know, hit someone off. That's not how it works here. And I think it's something that you guys are pretty strict on, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. It is for fun. But yeah, if somebody starts causing too many crashes or, you know, problems, not obeying the rules, then we can just kick them out, and you know, we will do that because it is just meant to be a bit of fun. So not something we've had to do very often. I mean, mostly it's just things like, as well, if somebody has a high ping, their internet connection essentially isn't very good. That can cause problems. We actually had an issue with Steve's a little while ago, and he stopped racing for a few races because his internet was so bad that his car essentially started teleporting over the track. That's what happens. So you're driving along minding your own business, and then you get a face full of Nissan swipe into you, and then it's gone again through no fault of his own. It's just his internet. So those are all the sorts of things that you have to monitor that perhaps are different to real world racing. Now, as we're talking to you, Clemson still hanging around that 1.2, 1.4 second mark. He looks a bit closer than the time screen suggests. Yeah, it's just updated.
Yeah.
It's gone 2 steps closer. Good. So still keeping our Stallman honest at the front. Kids now got a real ring full of D Stallman. Okay. Maybe another good opportunity for a real. Oh, and he batters off the wall.
A very good tactic here by D Stallman. He's all in those mirrors. He is making sure that car is as wide as it can be. It's been seeing both mirrors the whole time. And that's distracting because you guys, your view, especially I think with Neil running VR.
Yeah, Neil's in VR, yeah.
Yeah, so he'll be seeing that, you know, it's as if he's in the real car. He'll be absolutely seeing that all he can see is D Stallman there.
Yeah, a full rear view of D Stallman at the moment. Both of those headlights of that Porsche will be right his rear view. As they get very close into the final corner, that's going to give D Stallman a lovely tow. And it's exactly where we were as a camera's point of view just a few laps ago when this guy in front of us, or behind us as we're looking, ends up in the gravel. So can he make it stick a bit cleaner this time? He's probably going to have a look. I'll be amazed if he doesn't. But interesting though, actually, he didn't get as much of a run as I thought he would. Now I said it. Looking to the inside, but still not quite enough to make it stick. I'm still getting updates off camera of Dan O'Brien, other Danny, not being able to connect all the gear, but no ability to connect right now. But still, the battle rages on, and it looks like Houston was going to make it stick this time into turn one. Hell corner. Yes, he does. He's through. Can he hold on to it on the way out as well? And that'll give Neil a nice little tow up the straight. Can he try and follow D Stallman up to the back of Dave Clemson? Really, really nice, clean move that. Can't really dispute anything about that one. And both drivers giving each other a good amount of space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was great racing by them. See, Clemson was actually got half a second there from our Stallman at the front there. So is this now going to be a battle between second, third and fourth?
Yeah, I think it could shape up that way. I'm just hoping that Neil can hang in there and not clip any more walls and damage his car, because, yeah, that won't do him any favours.
But I've said that, and you can see that Clemson has actually gone another 2 tenths quicker, so his timings are consistent, but they are fluctuating just ever so slightly, and doesn't seem 10th or 2 doesn't seem too much, but yes, it is. And was that Neil Kidd very, very close to the wall there? Just saw Mackenzie flinch as if he was in the car there. So Neil's working real hard, and again, he's really up to his pace this weekend, or his Tuesday. I'm used to it being on a Saturday, so we've moved across to Tuesdays now. But he's really, really pushing, because he knows absolutely that he can stay at least within sort of a sight of that horse, that will drag him up into second position, and you know, he could be in for a podium if something happens to the cars to come.
Yeah, he's right in striking distance, isn't he, to pick up any pieces. So, like we were saying earlier, you know, we're doing this every week at least once, and most of the guys, to be competitive, are trying to practice at least once on top of that a week as well. So, you know, that's only ever going to breed an improvement in performance. So it's just reaping dividends for the kid. Certainly showing more so tonight. But yeah, I think they've all improved. You know, I know as well, just getting used to the game. real world experience is one thing, but you have to spend time in these games. That's something I've noticed. You know, like I say, real racing or not, sim racing is still different enough for you to put the time in. So it's definitely starting to pay off. We've also been to this track before. Let's not forget. You know, this is one of the first few tracks we did on our stream nights. So we're back here again, but everyone's got, you know, a 30-minute race experience under their belts from a few months ago. So that will also help all of them. And, you know, as much as we've seen some incidents,
time for some of them as well, which is not an ideal situation, but yeah, absolutely, it does help. And like I said, I'm kind of new into this in terms of coming in and helping doing commentating, but it's been really good to kind of watch and listen to the guys, and I kind of sneak into the chat every now and then, don't I? And there's a lot of hard work that's going into this.
Yeah, and I think having been involved in managing it, it gives you a bit more appreciation for others doing it as well. Like you say, I mean, Ben's flat out in the background, just keeping on top of everything. There's messages flying back and forth the whole time as well. So, you know, camera angles, different streams. We're on 2 different Twitch accounts, 2 different Discords. I've just noticed that the Shiba and the Nissan of Bryce and Steve's having a bit of a battle at the top of the hill there at Skyline. So that's looking interesting. So I mean, fair play to them all. We've had 6 cars. They're all still running over half race distance. In fact, less than 10 minutes to go, which is really good. R. Stallman's definitely just getting that little bit of an edge now, though, on Vincent.
That's actually in the lap, so that's quite a big gap that's been established there.
D. Stallman is also on the back of Vincent, so yeah, this is what I was wanting to see, and here we are.
Normal order is about to be resumed, I think.
Yeah. We thought we might have had a Stallman not 1-2 for once, but it looks like it is going to be a Stallman 1-2 once again, but I shouldn't count the chickens just yet, we'll see. So coming to turn 1, he made a move here, a few laps to go on Kidd. Kidd's dropped back by 3 seconds from the pair. Clemson getting a little bit tail happy on the exit. That's going to give Stallman a good run. Clemson moving to the side, and I think Stallman's pretty much going to breeze past. It's such a long straight, say it's nearly 2 kilometres, so getting a bad exit out of turn 1, you just watch your lap time delta drop and drop and drop. And D. Stallman through into 2nd place then. The question is, as he goes very wide and Clemson has a look on the outside, is Clemson not ready to hand the space? He's not. D. Stallman went in a bit deep, Clemson back out in front. And this will be hurting D. Stallman's chances of getting back into the race winning contention.
Yeah, absolutely. You can already see there the gap between Arsenal and Clemson. That was 2 seconds. Just by that kind of moving the last 2 corners, that's already gone down to 4-second gap. So this is good news for Arsenal, really, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, and as I say, it's definitely been 2 or 3-0 to D. Stallman over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 races. So Arsenal will be quite happy to get his name back on the top. Show his son how it's done.
Clemson there, just through those last couple of corners, he's driving very, very defensively. So, you know, that's great. Is he going to be able to withstand that driving for the last 7 minutes of the race? That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's an interesting time in the race now, and I think Clemson knows as well. If he lets D. Stallman pass, there's a good chance, given the rate he just appeared on his bumper, that he's probably not going to hang on to him. So, you know, there's an argument to say, yes, I want to keep this car behind me now with 7 minutes to go, but at the same point, that could bring Kidd back into it, and even Steve's, like we saw earlier. So, yeah, making D. Stallman go very wide there and try and take the wide approach. To be fair, it's pretty solid defensive driving.
Yeah, really good driving. What this is also going to do, this is going to give an opportunity for Kidd to try and gain a bit of the gap that was created by D. Stallman back, where their lap times ultimately are going to drop off by this defensive driving, which, like you said, at this point in the race, you've got to do what you've got to do, haven't you? It's not about setting past the time.
Oh, I think he didn't quite time that right. I think he had a good idea there. He was trying to hold him up sort of in the middle of the corner and not let Stallman get the run on him, but he just mistimed it. I think he probably didn't realise how far back Stallman was. It's a good tactic usually. If you stop the car on the apex of the corner, then the car behind has nowhere to go, so it also has to pretty much stop. And therefore can't get the run on you on the way out. But Stallman had enough of a gap anyway that he just carried the momentum through and around the outside. So Clemson will be kicking himself for that one. You know, he's done a really sterling effort there, put a sterling effort into the defence, but that's not enough. So Arsenal in the lead, 11 laps. It was a 15-lap race last time, so yeah, we've got a few laps left to go. As we know, it's just over 2 minutes per lap, so works out about right. 6 minutes on the clock. I still see that Bryce is half a second off of Steve, so those two have still got a little bit of business left to settle. Kidd can now see Simpson a little bit clearer in his mirrors, that's for sure. And D. Stillman's going to begin the hunt to see if he can bring down that gap to R. Stillman, currently 4.3 seconds. So let's take a note of that, 4.3 seconds, and see where he gets in a few laps' time. Can he bring it down, or how much can he bring it down by?
You can actually see the gap starting to shorten between Kidd and Clinton as well.
Oh, he's gone again.
He's gone again now. Is that because he was pushing so hard and the tyres had gone off? You know, that was really, I was literally just about to say about Clinton and his tyres. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And D. Stallman, that, you know, that just shows how easy it is. That actually, Neil Kidd really, really needs to try hard and to put himself in the podium position and keep it there. We'll see what the gap is after Stallman sorts himself out. It actually looks like he's getting trouble getting himself going there. So this is really good news, and it's, you know, it's not great for Dom, but it's nice to see that, you know, there's some other drivers that get off the podium. It just shows how difficult this circuit is.
It's also nice that German efficiency of Dom that's been so robotic and just pumping fast lap times in the previous weeks can be broken. He is a real person. So these two still having a good little fight, and you know, that's the great thing is
Neil's going for the move there. Absolutely.
No, that's Price on Steve's.
Oh, sorry. I was getting overexcited then. I was like Paulina. I was rooting for Neil to come in for second. So we'll see.
These two have been battling for a good few laps now, so that's good to see. And even, you know, even if you're not fighting for the lead, just being in a fight, having a good battle with someone, particularly someone that you know well and you raced against, it's all really good. Look how close they get to the wall. It's really good stuff. So yeah, these guys are all in our Discord server, chatting whilst they race. So usually that's quite helpful in the sense of just saying I'm on your outside still, or oh, you know, I can't stop, I'm about to hit you, whatever it might be. It can help. Apologising for hitting you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be good if we could get the camera angle back just the top three there, certainly the top second place and third place there, because what I'm really noticing here when I'm looking at times, Linton's times are really, really starting to drop off compared to where our Stallman is. He's now 6 seconds off the pace, whereas Kidd seems to be actually 10th by 10th getting there. Not sure it's going to be enough in the last 3 minutes, but again, has Clinton's tyres on? We don't know. You see he's having to work a lot harder there to get the car stopped through the corners as well, so he could be suffering a bit hard to steer there going into the corners. Yeah,
it's entirely possible. This track is pretty hard on them just with all the undulations of the circuit, camber corners, off camber corners. It's a real challenge on the driver and the car.
I mean, Neil's just sorry to butt in there, but Neil just closed that gap in by half a second there in the last couple of corners. That's a significant amount of time. All we need to do is that a few times over, and he's right on his back bumper.
So the leader, R. Stallman, Roland Stallman, he'll be now on his penultimate lap. Given the time when he next crosses the line, it will likely go to the last lap. So that will then mean that these guys have got half a lap here to finish, plus one more. Like you say, Kidd's going to have to keep pushing harder and harder if he's going to bring that gap down. It's entirely possible. And of course, he'll be spurred on by the fact that he can see those rear lights of the Nissan up ahead. He'll be really, really gunning for them.
I must say it's been a great race so far, hasn't it? There's a lot of action the whole way throughout as well, not just the top end or the bottom end. It's the whole way through, which is great.
It looks like Dieselman did get going again. He's sitting around 14 seconds off the speed, so he must have got going again, but I think he'll know that that's game over for him now. So Kidd still 2 seconds distance back from Clinton, or 2.1 instead of 2.2. He's gained the 10th when he needs to gain 2 seconds. One more lap. I don't know if he's going to do it unless Clemson has some kind of issue. And he'll be hoping so. Clemson will be hoping not.
Pauline will also be
Pauline will be
hoping
hoping
so. It'd be great to see if we get
right, man. Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
Around and not spraying champagne for Is that his first podium trip about this?
No, he actually came second at Monza once everyone else had finished crashing.
That was pre-me coming into this, so
Yeah.
it doesn't count.
And to be fair to him, I think he's almost always top 5, top 6.
Oh, he's always at the sharp end, absolutely.
And it's mostly just for keeping his nose clean. A lot of the time, he just gets through the race without having too many incidents. So the first race was really unfortunate. But yeah, this is the track where it happens. So you're watching the race leader then now on his final lap of the race, R. Stallman, as he begins to climb the mountain for the final time at the Mount Panorama circuit tonight. A pretty faultless drive for him, actually. Started on pole, had a bit of pressure at the start, nearly got taken out by his teammate and son, but he's been pretty consistent and dominant the whole way through.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic drive from him there. You know, perfect really, isn't it? Qualified pole, lights the flag in the lead, not too much drama, just got on with it, hasn't he?
At a track where it's really hard to do that as well. You know, he's had to dictate his own pace the whole time. You know, there's a good chance, again, we spoke a bit about racecraft, there's a good chance that he was just managing the gap to Clemson, you could say, because you know, we know he had pace to go a bit quicker if his qualifying time said anything. He kept that gap pretty solid at sort of between 1 and 2 seconds. And you don't want to overdrive at this pace. There's no point trying to eke it out to 2, 3, 4 seconds if you don't need to. And we saw, you know, Dominic Stallman trying to catch up. That really cost him, just pushing that bit too hard. It actually caused 2 big mistakes. The second one pretty much put him out of any sort of top 3 finish. So round the final bend, for the last time, comes R. Stallman. Through a Murray corner, accelerates away towards the flag.
The leader has finished the race.
And he finishes the race as the smoke and fireworks will go off in the background. Fantastic drive by Clemson, coming in second. Well done, Andy. That was a really, really solid result. And Kidd redeeming himself, you could say, from race 1, getting into the podium. And look at that. Shiva's coming home together once again. They just can't be separated, these two. That's the power of love. But Stallman, look at that. He's done Steve's on the last lap. He's come back through on Steve's. So he hasn't finished last. He's finished 5th. And Steve's, he's stopping. Did he finish? Yeah, he has. He's got a checkered flag next to his name.
No, it'll be interesting to see if that was a fuel issue or something like that. Because I think between all of you at some point, you crossed the line literally on minuscule fuel.
I actually ran out of fuel.
Yeah.
Over the line last week.
Yes, it'd be interesting to see if something like that's happened and they've had to manage it. But again, you can see the guys here all finishing off the lap together, doing a little session. And I think that's been a great week of racing, hasn't it? It's been really enjoyable for us to watch.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that second race especially, and yet we had a smaller grid. So it just goes to show, if you have a regular bunch of people that show up and know each other and
quality, you know, not quantity.
Yeah, exactly. Quality, not quantity. I like that. And don't forget, if you've been watching and you've enjoyed this, you can join it. You can join the racing. So if you have a copy of Assetto Corsa Competizione on the PC, not the console, PC only at the moment, then you can come and join us. So look up the InGear Motorsport Discord. It's on most of our channels that you might be watching on, and you'll also find it on InGearMotorsport.com as well. So that's all available to join, free to race, and as we've just established, free to watch. So we do this every week, normally every Tuesday. We'll be racing actually next Saturday though. We're going to have a behind closed doors race next week on Tuesday to practice for our 19th charity race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth mentioning as well that if you are planning this race, and I'll let Mackenzie go through the details of that, she knows that slightly a bit more than me, but if you are looking to race next Saturday, our charity race, you know, you can come in on this closed door race on Tuesday. We won't be streaming it, but it's a real good opportunity for you guys to have a bit of practice of a 90-minute race. So absolutely get in contact with one of us, whether it's through social media or the guys on the Discord. channel, that's absolutely fine. And we want to welcome more drivers. And like we say, next Saturday is such a good course. That's Saturday the 25th of July.
Yeah.
Just to get that sort of nailed in there and do the final plug for it. And it is for the Red Cross charity, which we know is a great charity across the world.
So 7 p.m. and of course that's British Standard Time. It's Saturday, 25th of July. But when we do sign off, or before we sign off, I should say, it'd be quite nice to have a little chat with you, kid, seeing as he had quite a strong race there. So our race director Ben was also interviewed Liner Upperer. There is a better word, someone please tell me. But yeah, we'll see if we can have a quick chat with Neil and see what he says now that drivers will come into the pit. And so I think I just heard Neil's joined us.
Hello.
Fresh off of VR and
they get moved?
bothered, I'm sure. Yes. Hello, Neil. You're in the stream. How's it going?
I can hear Benny.
Hang on.
Hang on.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
There we go. I can hear you now.
There we go. So, how was how's the race? That looked like a good one for you.
Well, got absolutely dusted on the start with the GTR. The 40 start with this car is ridiculous. You're not even in the rev range, you're not even on boost, so you just get left standing. That let Andy out in front. He pretty much stayed. I clawed him back a couple of times, but.
Neil, you've done really, really well, but you just start with all the negatives to start off with.
That's what to improve with next
time. He lives right in the north of Scotland, where it's cold.
And grey. Everything's grey.
But yeah, no, it looked like quite a good race. And you and Danny finishing right next to each other again, it turns out, even after all the action that went on.
What happened to one of the Stillmans there was ahead and then spun out on the second to last corner?
Yeah, he braked on the grass a little bit and went flying up the inside of our Stillman, nearly collected him, made his way back. I think he got back to just a second or less off of you, and then had another incident again.
Oh no!
But cool. Well, final thing there. How was how did you find Bathurst, having been there before and back tonight? It's not an easy track, is it?
No, I've driven it in the 911 before, and it's a lot easier in the 911. The uphill and the downhill section, just being able to change the direction of the car with the rear engine is so much easier. The Aston is a little bit of a pig, especially on the uphill. Find it difficult to get full throttle on any of it, so you're either upshifting early or lifting off, and it's just not quite able to keep the pace on the uphill. Downhill, though, brakes are amazing. On the S's, I was collecting so much time on Andy, just being able to brake very little, but very hard.
Yeah, we thought you might have actually managed to reel him in at the end, but yeah, I think just kind of run out of time. There's probably about 2-3 tenths a lap you were gaining on him.
Yeah, I could slowly get up on him, but then I would just mess up one corner, and that's enough to put back basically what I'd gained. So just not enough time. I think given more time, it would have been okay, but.
Yeah, another podium, mate, and we were just saying that will bode well for when we start actually, putting a championship together in a few weeks' time.
Points on the board, mate. Points on the board. Sheba Garage.
Cool, and yeah, Paulina was cheering you on the whole way through as well. So
good.
Right, well, we'll let you go and call off and chat with everyone. I'll come catch up with you in a minute.
All right, see you.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was it for another night's racing. How did you find it?
Really, really good. I think a bit more action than what there was last week. I think maybe people are starting to find their feet a bit more. This circuit definitely kind of put the fire up everyone a little bit, and I don't know whether that's because of what we know is going on next week and everyone's feeling a little bit more competitive at the moment. But yeah, no, really enjoyable race from my behalf. I think. What about yourself? What did you think? Yeah, really enjoyed it. Race 2 was fantastic. Like I say, even with the smaller grid, they managed to put on some pretty close racing, lots of action. But still lots of clean overtakes and stuff as well. So really good stuff. So don't forget, final plug, we have a Discord. You can join the community and come and chat to us. We have a charity race coming up on the 25th of July. We'd love people to either get involved in actually racing, watching and donating. The donation link is on around our different channels. But if you don't have it, it's bit.ly/IGM Red Cross. And of course it is to support the Red Cross. So that's bit.ly spelled LY / we'll make sure we put that link in the comments as well, because like we said, we really appreciate it. We kind of want to give back after what's happened over the last 3-4 months. So yeah, it's a good way to do it. It's a fun way to do it on a Saturday evening.
And we're normally here every Tuesday, but like I said, we won't be next Tuesday, but it's next Saturday. But after that, every Tuesday night, you can tune in and get your motorsport fix live at InGear Motorsport live stream. So thanks very much for me for watching. Charlotte, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, no worries. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
We will see you all soon.
Ain't shady, baby, I'm hot, like the prodigal son.
There we go, green lights, and we're off once again.
I'm hot like the prodigal son. Big up Battolini, Mini, Money, Mo, and Flower. You're the chosen one.